Does one douse or douse the spotlight or projector? A recent SMS conversation has prompted me to question my use of Dowse, dowsing, and so on in relation to lighting instruments and projection equipment. I do not remember from where I got this habit, but I do know that I've had it a while. I looked up Dowse in Wiktionary, though, and there is no mention whatsoever of anything related to extinguishing or putting out. Merriam-Webster says it's a variant of Dowse, though, and Google says that Dowse is a synonym, but thesaurus.com doesn't even know the word Dowse, and other sites I've looked at make no mention of it in their synonym lists for Dowse. I guess I've confused myself through research at this point. It seems like the more unusual word Dowse would fit in a theatrical or film production context, where jargon is extremely common. I should know, but I do want to make sure I'm using the word correctly.
Dowsing means divination of underground resources, water, oil, buried treasure, etc., usually by means of a forked stick. I rarely if ever hear about it here in Los Angeles, but when I lived up in the hills, our neighbor had the reputation of being an excellent water witcher. Dowse is given as an alternate spelling of douse, to put out or extinguish, as fire or hope in several dictionaries, as Trist has pointed out, but in 21st century usage it is highly unusual.
Webster's 1913. Douse, VT, as. Dwascan. Skeet, to put out, to extinguish. Slang, to douse the glim, Sir W. Scott. No such slang meaning is attributed to Dowse.
Per the OED, Dowse is a variant spelling of both Dowse verbs. They do not know where the water-seeking verb came from. I'll give the nouns first. Dowse, n dot to the power of 1, or 1627, pronunciation, Dowse or forms, also 16 Dowse, 16 Dowse, Dowse, 18 Deuce. Etymology, Dowse v dot to the power of 1, a dull heavy blow or stroke. Dowse Dowse, n dot squared, or c 1325 or 1500, etymology, perhaps substitute of Dowse, Dowse adjective sweet. OBS. A sweetheart, a dear. Also ironical. Dowse, v dot to the power of 1, or 1559, pronunciation, Dowse or forms, also 16 Dowse, 17 Deuce. Etymology, of obscure origin, known only from 16th century in sense 1, perhaps related to Middle Dutch dossen, or early modern Dutch docen to beat with force and noise. Killian compare also East Frisian dossen to beat, strike, punch, knock, and German dialect dusen, tusen, torsen, etc. to beat, strike, butt, grim. Senses too, the third of may be the same word, compare to strike sail, sense for is more doubtful, and may be distinct. All the senses belong to the lower strata of the language. Trans. To strike, punch, inflict a blow upon. Not to strike, assail, it to lower or slacken suddenly or in haste, to close, a porthole. To put off, doff. To put out, extinguish, doubt, a light. To throw down, table, money equals dos v dot to the power of 1 2. To shut up, stop, cease. Dowse, v dot squared, or 1600, pronunciation, Dowse or forms, also 16 Deuce, Dowse, Dowse, 16 Dowse, Dowse. Etymology, appears c 1600, origin unknown, perhaps onomatopoeic, compare souse. It is of course not impossible that it arose out of Dowse v dot to the power of 1, though connection is not obvious. Trans. To plunge vigorously in water, or the like, to immerse with force. OBS. To throw water over, to drench. Intra to plunge or be plunged into water. Dowse, v. 1894, pronunciation, Dowse or forms, also Dowse, Dowse. Etymology, derivation unknown, apparently a dialect term. Intra to use the divining or dowsing rod in search of subterraneous supplies of water or mineral veins. Derivatives dowsing n. Dowser n, des, one who uses the divining rod, a water diviner. Dowsing rod n, the rod or twig used by dowsers. All these entries are from the online third edition of the Oxford English Dictionary, but also appeared in the second edition from 1989, with an earlier version also appearing in the New English Dictionary, that is, the first edition, of 1897.
I've operated a spot lamp in theaters a number of times here on the California side of whatever pond you choose, And if you want to extinguish the light, you douse it using the chopper blades, which are operated by a lever or stick, if you will. Any reference manual for a spot lamp will use the term douse to mean to dim or fully extinguish the light from the lamp. Here's an example for a well-known brand of spot lamp. This URL. I've always thought that the action of dousing a light, as well as the searching for water variant douse, referred to the actual act of dipping a stick down, either to put out the flame at the end of a torch, or moving a lever to throw a cover over the spot lamp beam, or twitching a stick as you stumble around searching for water or minerals. The last time I saw anyone douse for something, it was a septic tank repairman at my in-laws' house in the mountains of Southern California. He was unable to locate the main drain line and cap over the tank precisely, and I kept sighting along the 6 inches or so of drain line that was just visible above ground near the house, pointing off to the north and down the hill where he was dowsing. And I kept telling him just dig along this line and pointing, and that's how he finally found the tank. It was interesting to watch him wander around the property with 2 bent wires rolling between his fingers. But I saved him and my in-laws at least a half hour just using my knowledge that pipes are often manufactured as straight tubes.
If you watch this part now, please consider liking and subscribing.